It is in fact my privilege to be part of Modak Academy. It is doing great job. I have been in touch and almost I used to join all the events which were happening. It's my luck, sheer luck that Gargi Di, whom I call, is known to me, and somehow we got connected. And today I am also one of the speaker in the same forum. That's my privilege. Thank you, everyone. Uh, if we come to our today's, you can say lecture, or if you say today's discussion, because we cannot consider childhood in crisis issue at stake as a lecture, because it should be a two-way traffic, because presently this is a very vulnerable topic, and every house, every person, everyone is talking about present scenario where children have changed tremendously after the pandemic. Uh, The 2 year keeping them at home with their parents, and that development actually could not happen. And that repercussion is being now felt now by school teachers, by principal, by parents, by peers, and everyone. So I'm very happy that I got such a topic to discuss, wherein all the members, if we listen here, I think we can forward this to many more in future. So I would be requesting our academy in charge to please start my PPT so that we can start our discussions. So as I said, childhood in crisis, issue at stake, and what actually is at stake is what we would be actually wondering and talking about. When we talk about children, their children are known as children till the age of 18. That is what we consider the children. If they are up to the age of 18, they are children for us. For every mother, every parent, children will remain children even at the age of 40. But what personally we consider children is at a till this certain age, because thereafter children are never children. We have to act, behave, talk to them properly. Now, if we talk about childhood in crisis, what is the reason? I just came up with few of the things which came to my mind is that it's because of parent, that there are certain reason why these kind of things are aggravating. It is the carer who is there with the child, who is not bringing and nurturing the child properly. That is why this vulnerability has come. Or because, somehow in India, basically it is found that we are not very free with our children. We don't discuss everything with our children. So what happens that girls, when they just grow up and they are at the age of 16 and 18, they don't think about anything, and they go into relationship, and then we have the maximum teenage pregnancy in India, even in South Africa as well. Disabilities in one of them, due to many unforeseen reasons. There is disability. If we go to the you can say hospitals, you will find among the 1,000 children which are born, at least 5% children are having some kind of problem or the other. It's due to non-care of by the mothers, because most of the young generation are working parents. They are not at all taking care during the pregnancy, as well as it is because of the age also, that they are thinking of on bringing a child, adding a child, a member in the family after the age of 35. So probably for that reason also, it has been understood that there is more disabilities coming among the children. Medical condition is one thing. In India, we don't do any kind of medical test, and it so happens that certain RH factors bring disturbance to the married life of the husband, wife, and there are children who suffer various diseases because of the problem. So when we go to the next slide, we will come to know that what are our discussion points today. It and I will be all talking about the protection principles, how we are exposing the children, how they are being harmed, and what is the result of the action. We all know there is a code of conduct, and there is a prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse, which has been aided by various workers who come forward and take care of these things. But are we following any of these lines which is to be taken care of, especially in India? It is known to each one that in 1989, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, CRC, was established as a legal and ethical framework to guide the community about how we should take care of the children's. Children have their own right. We all know that in Western countries, even if a parent give a slap to the child has a right to complain against the parent. Somehow, this has come to India as well, because most of the police stations are having one specific counter for children to walk in and complain against the parents if they are doing any harm to them. Next slide. So the Convention on the Rights of Children talked about many things, and one of them, the major, is about the trauma on the children. Next slide. What is trauma? What is it like to be a person suffering from trauma? How does traumatic experience change a person? Why is it important to understand trauma? How can understanding the impact of trauma improve services? And what can I do? Because when these kind of questions raise in our heads, in our mind, in our thoughts, then we always think what we can do. How can if we are not having this problem and suffering, then how can we help and support people who is suffering? Next slide. So, next slide. So let's discuss about trauma. I think most of us think that if we get hurt, that is trauma. Maybe if we lose someone in our family, that is trauma. But trauma is of many kind, and actually it has been defined as a psychological, emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster, or an experience that is deeply distressing or disturbing, affected psychologically and physical well-being of a person. A traumatized person can feel a range of emotions both immediately or after the event and in the long term. We don't know that those who have got some kind of effect in his childhood, when are that reflection coming up? They may feel overwhelmed, helpless, shocked, or have difficulty processing their experiences. Trauma can also cause physical symptoms such as pain in the body, numbness, headache, nausea, and stomach upset. So it happens, if we have some mothers with us today, or if we have parents here with us today, or grandparents, they will see that when a child is scolded in the school, he comes back home and says, "Khide paচ্ছে na, খাবো না, আজকে ভালো লাগছে না, আজকে টিফিন খাইনি." This kind of behavior shows that child has some kind of feeling inside him or her, which is not wanting to share, but just showing it, giving that pressure and you can say difficulty to the body. Next slide. So then when we talk about trauma, what are the reactions about traumatic events? This is a few things which I've just come across, and I'm just sharing that there are the reactions of trauma. If we talk about emotional, what are the emotional reactions? It's in anger, distress, fear, feeling insecure, feeling numb, guilt, helplessness, sadness, sense of hopelessness, emptiness, deep loss. When we talk about mental, what is a mental problem? Then it's confusion, disorientation, inability to concentrate, memory problems, and racing their thoughts. Now, when we talk about what is a physical change, that is they are cold, sweats, dizziness, fatigue, nausea, rapid heart rate, shortness of breath, stomach ache, tight chest, and uncontrollable shaking. And what about the behavior? They get annoyed easily. They do bedwetting, difficulty in expression, poor grades in school, refusing to talk, restlessness, self-isolation, sleep disturbance, and they start showing reactions. They are tearful with no reason, apparent reason. The same happens what actually in timing this happen in delayed, what happens after a certain period of time, you see anxiety, depression, emotional detachment, fear of reoccurring trauma, hostility, irritability, mood swings, and shame. If you talk about later on what happens in mental, they remember those bad experience again and again. It comes in flashback. They are unable to decide. They blame themselves, and then the worst part is that they come up with suicidal thoughts. I think we all know what is happening in our country. A place like Kota, where students go to prepare for IIT and others, there had been so many suicides, and it's really sad that this year it were maximum because these societal thoughts comes when the expectation of the dear one increases and the child is unable to fulfill the expectation. In long run, in physically they change in appetite, they are lowered resistance to cold and infections, they have nightmares, the persistent fatigue is there, and they can't sleep properly. They're almost awake because they think about the same trauma which has disturbed them. And in behavior, they get aggression, refuse to go to school, refuse to talk, just go for self isolation and withdraw from everything and anything. Next slide, please. So, there are many situations for these negative effects. A few of them are like it's death of parents, other family members who is very close to them, friends, or if they see these kind of deaths of the neighbor whom they know. They have separations. Nowadays we all know that the worst scenario is the separation of parents, and the child is unable to get the full love and affection from both the parents, and the love for both the parents is almost the same for each and every individual child. You can't say that the child loves father more or mother more. I think this is never there. They have the equal feelings to for both the members. So that separation is also a cause. Conflict, tension, violence in the family and community life, displacement, and refugee trauma. Because I think in India, this is basically there in more bordering states where there are war. It is there, this trauma is there basically in army, navy families, and during pandemic it had been maximum. Everywhere in each school, the principals, when the school reopened after long big means gap after pandemic, the first thing, every school, the teachers and others would ask the children, did anyone die in your family during pandemic? I think as a principal who had been in this particular field for quite some time, I was the first one to get angry on the teachers or anyone saying that why are you asking this? You should not have asked. The children are basically hurt. They don't want to share that this has happened. So basically, these are traumatic events for them. Physical injury and sexual violence. We all know right now the children are very vulnerable. We all know that there are trainings going on in schools. Everyone has started talking about good touch and bad touch. A small child is also warned to be very careful about his or her body. So this sexual violence is increasing, and this is also a negative effect on children. Violence or conflict in the household. See, we know that as parents, we have a difference of opinion with our wife, we have difference of opinion in our family, with other members of the family, and we sometimes forget that they are all observing what is happening. And we lose our temper, we lose our voice, we lose our words. So this is a very difficult situation for children who never like it. Poverty is one of them, and that is a major in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and certain countries. School violence, I would say, is increasing. Somehow schools are having many children and they're unable to control, or probably after a pandemic, students have become uncontrollable. They don't listen to anyone. So what is basically having is the children are really becoming very naughty and they are misbehaving. Reasons are there. There are some rich children. They come and talk about the richness of the parents, and they basically show dadagiri, and this is a common feature. I've been traveling across and I found that in certain schools in Bihar I saw a child in class 5 had actually murdered a child, saying, "It is not your father, but my father is the richest person." So this is a very sad scenario. So all these things are the reason which is taking the children's into such a concerned situation, and that is creating mental illness. Mental illness of the family is also one of the issue. Next slide, please. So basically, this is the case study of US. One half the children in the US are exposed to violence, crime, and abuse every year. 26% witness or experience this traumatic event before the age of 4. Exposure to violence in any form harms children and can have many negative effects throughout childhood and into adulthood. And in fact, a lot of money is spent to find this help children and bring them out of this childhood abuse, like and trauma, like physical, emotional, and legal. And I personally have experienced this kind of things. I would have considered this as a false information, but in America, that is the truth, that people do not know that the children and the members staying together, whose child is who. It's really a very poor situation in places like America, South Africa, and other countries. At least India is far, far better that a family, a biological family, and immediate family stays together. Next slide. So life with trauma living is almost like a shadow. Trauma does not automatically cause PTSD. It's 25% risk. Violation, degradation, betrayal increases risk to 50 to 75%. Trauma is actually an epidemic. 60% of adults and 50% of children suffer with trauma. And trauma is almost universal for boys, which is 93%, and for girls, it's 87%, according to the JJ system. Trauma increase the risk of further trauma. Most survivors have at least two distinct trauma. It's not that for one good reason they are suffering. It so happens that one after another they have suffered, and that is why they've become traumatic. They have this illness. Next slide. No, by adolescence, children have sufficient skill and independence to seek relief through the following. Like what they do is, at a certain age, they children, no one knows how to come out or combat trauma. But at a certain age, you will find that they just indulge into drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco, sexual promiscuity, using psychoactive materials, overeating, eating disorders, and delinquent behavior. I think the members who have joined me, they're all matured enough, and they will agree to one point that presently, even in a city like Kolkata, you will find young generation smoking very freely. They are smoking very freely. They do not respect the seniors or elders, and they think that smoking is a social status. But somewhere down the line, we personally feel that our children, in certain section of the family, the children are basically not getting the kind of nurturing which is required. Teachers are busy just teaching them, and then they are leaving. There is no such teacher coming in and asking, "How was your day yesterday, night yesterday, and how are you feeling today? Is everything okay?" Next slide. So these are a few of the signs of post-traumatic stress reactions. And if we go through it, I think you can understand. They avoid thinking, they avoid talking, they are easily frightened, with a touch at times they get frightened. They have very negative moods, they have mood swing, they always think negative and is always on guard that is happening. Oh, this should not happen to me. They overthink, they avoid places, they don't want to sit with people, they avoid participating in activities. They have, and these traumatic people usually have flashbacks. They cannot concentrate, and this cannot concentrate has become a normal scenario now. Even in a class of 20 students, if you want to teach them, you will find that only 5 to 7% students are having an eye-to-eye contact with teachers, and they listen the rest are not concentrating because due to pandemic, I think everyone is having that feeling of being overwhelmed. Aggression is one a part of it, loss of interest, feeling guilt or shame, substance abuse, sleeping difficulty, and bad dreams. Next slide. So basically, ACE is known as Adverse Childhood Experience. We have this bar graph which talks about every pillar of it, every stages of it, and that's the implication for the classroom. Because if we want to help children, if we want to come forward and help the children or the society in need, it should be through the classroom, inside the classroom, in the schools, so that this kind of an epidemic should not reach at certain level where the next generation or the senior children, when they grow up, they suffer. Next slide. So today's agenda mostly is talking about participants. We want that everyone should know about the trauma on the brain and the implication that it has in the classroom. Let's discuss about the such sensitive practices and procedures, how it can impact the health, how it can impact learning, what does a trauma sensitive school or classroom looks like. Let's talk about the childhood experience of abuses, neglect, family dysfunctions between birth, age 18 can disrupt brain development. We remember when we were in school, we had a particular syllabus, and it was a common information to by the teacher that your full book will be your syllabus. You have to memorize all the chapters, be prepared for your exam for 100 marks paper. And every time we were ready, we had the capacity of memorizing each chapter and sitting for an exam. But if I talk about today's scenario, it really is a saddening situation that when the development of brain is still going on, we find that the respected boards like CBSE, ICSE, they're all reducing syllabus as per the need and requirement of the children. They're not imposing or just making children to learn all the chapters and come out well prepared by knowing each and everything. So personally, if I think as a psychologist, I think that we are in a wrong track. We should force children to memorize, to know everything thoroughly and learn it again and again, because repetition of work will only help them to keep this in their memories till the fag end of their life. Next slide. So lifespan impacts of ACE's findings are surprisingly common. We found that it can even affect these kind of disorders, and this type of traumatic feeling can even affect at the age of 15 or after 15 years. It can transform into psychosocial experience, into physical diseases, social dysfunction, and mental illness. I would like to share something here with you all that in 2013, like I just suffered a small stroke and I had a paralytic attack in my half body. And I remember my doctor said everything will be fine, it will not be fine because your body has suffered. And I can now understand, yes, what he was saying was correct, because we know that we have neurons in our head, brain, and these neurons, there is no medicine for neurons to survive. We have to just give pressure to the neurons. So that pressure is needed from childhood for children, so that with this pressure, one can grow effectively and can excel in life, because they'll be able to retain the things which have been actually nurtured and taught to them in childhood. Next slide. So we talk about kids' safety, we talk about how we can help the kids to grow. So these are few tips that we should give them all kind of personal information, and we should tell them that you should not be sharing your information with everyone because of the social media. Our children are becoming friends with everyone, anyone, and they are sharing all information about the well-being and whereabouts of parents and everything. So there are few things which we have to teach the children. So I've just come up with small safety rule that they have to know how to walk on the road, how to keep secret, not to share things with anyone, and these are basic things for smaller children. Next slide. how to motivate. Like, see, nowadays, the time has changed. It was earlier, if you would say the child, you have sit here, listen to us and eat, they would do so. But now they will say, why should we sit there? Why? There is a never ending why going on in their you can in their talk. So we have to motivate them, if this way or the other. We have to bring many kind of things in them, like in today's date, because of social media and networking, you can say Google Baba, TV and others. We parents are actually making our children engage more with gadgets. So thinking it, giving them books, giving them an opportunity to read books is a very important thing we should do. We should share our enthusiasm for learning with them. Nowadays, if there are four members in the room, all four members are busy with mobile phones. If there are four members in there, they have some kind of electronic gadgets in their hand. So, we have to change this system and go back to time in 1800, 1900, 1990 till 1990, I think. Parents would sit together and eat together. They would see movies together. They would see serials together. Ramayana serial has become so famous that everyone would sit in the family together to see that. But now things have changed. Every person is busy in the phone, seeing their own favorite serial and others. So we have to motivate, we have to teach, we have to tell, we have to guide. And that is why I just came up with this slide, that it is our responsibility to make our children learn and motivate them to know various things. There is never ending of them. Next slide. Uh, there was time when we would scold children, they would listen, but nowadays we cannot scold them. We have to tell them that if this is there, what will happen to you? So few of the phrases are here to keep the children calm during when they are so very anxious. And nowadays we do have anxious children. So these are few things which I came across by telling them how you can be safe. We have to tell about I am here with you, don't worry. We can just to remove the anxiety, we can always tell them that we are right. Let's know what you are having the problem. We will share together. So various other things are there. We can just always tell to the child so that they calm down and that anxious moment subsidize with these kind of talks. Next slide. See, this is one thing, is a question I can say to all those who have joined me today, that should we ignore the cries of our children? Here I will, with this cries, I will also put in one more thing, is that, we parents sometimes like children's copying others. We encourage them, oh, জেঠুর মতন হেঁটে দেখাতো, কাকুর মতন একটু রাগ করে দেখাতো, ওর মতন একটু খেতে দেখাতো. We tell these children. And it so happens that our children start doing this for their teachers, then principals, and then everyone. And that is the time when we feel bad that why we had encouraged our children to copy others. Similarly, when I come to this fake cries, we have to be very careful and understand the reason why our children are doing tantrums or they are not listening to us, whether they are telling us the truth or whether it is false. Being in academics, we come across with unnecessary complaints of parents that they just simply call up, say, today this teacher has better child, or teacher did not correct the copy, or teacher did not do that. And parents believe to this and they just call up schools, but they never see that whether the child has taken the book copy to school or not, whether he had completed the task in time, whether he was actually doing his work without disturbing the teacher or not. So we have to be very careful. Like the child, if the toddlers don't say, "Mom, I had such a bad day today," what should we do? Whether we should believe that or whether we should just find out the reason. When children cry, we have to find out whether the cry, the way they are crying, is it the fake crying, or it is, yes, really they are in need of something. So we have to ask a child, how can I help you? And we have to make sure that this fake rise, according to the age, whether they are fake or they are true. Next slide. Time has changed. There was a time when our mothers would welcome us home, and instead of asking what you did in class, কি क्या लिखा, কি করেছো, খাতা নিয়ে এসছো কিনা, they would sort of say, okay, come on, you have to take rest. It's time for you to eat. You just take some sleep, talk to other members, enjoy your time, and you can just enjoy outside also and play with your friends. But nowadays, young mothers, the moment the child steps out of the class, the first thing they pick up the bag, they take out the books and copies. কি পড়েছিস, কি লিখেছি, ও কি লিখেছে, ও কত marks পেয়েছে? That comparison, that kind of, that trauma we are only creating in our child. So sometimes now they're hiding also. So let us come up with certain style of asking our children, what was the funniest thing that happened today? What's something cool you learned today in the school? What one thing you're looking forward to do tomorrow? So that the children, from their mind, they come up and say something different to us. They find out a way of expressing themselves in a very different manner. Did you have a chance to ask any question in the class? Do you learn or discover something new today? So these things, we should do it. In our time, our mothers, our parents would say, डायरी में अपना लिखो आज क्या हुआ है, कल क्या करना है, उसकी तैयारी रखो. So that part is totally vanishing, I would say. Next slide. Uh, this is one thing I think we are missing. We don't compliment our children. আমরা আমাদের বাচ্চাদের কখনো প্রশংসা করি না. আমরা বাচ্চাদের কেন, আই থিঙ্ক আমরা কাউকে প্রশংসা করাটা কোথাও না কোথাও একটু we have forgotten. So I think this is something which motivates everyone. যদি বাচ্চার স্কুলে আসছে, ড্রাইভার আঙ্কালকে একটু উইশ করে যদি বলে, আঙ্কাল ড্রাইভার আজকে খুব ভালো ড্রাইভ করেছো, probably next day you will take the children safely. For everything, like we should have meaningful compliments for our children. You are so fun, you inspire me, I wish there were more people like you, you have a great attitude. I remember we came across with a video during pandemic where this video was from outside. Probably in one school, the kids, they had just come, they were in a line to go inside the classroom, and a teacher has just placed a drawing, and there she had made hand, then she had made bumping, then she had made knuckles, and then sit and stand. And that those things were that how the child want their teacher to behave when she's welcoming them to enter the class. And in that video, I found that a child who is just saying that the teacher has to hold the ear, that they were putting the hand on that photo, the teacher was holding the ear and sitting. So that's, this is what a child should be welcomed with, that they should be shown that they are wanted. I think I would appreciate that if we come across giving them good, meaningful compliments in near future. Next slide. So we come to the main point, that is the issue of childhood in crisis encompasses various challenges such as mental health issues, access to education, exposure to violence. Addressing these concerns requires a multifaceted approach involving communities, governments, and support systems to ensure the well-being and development of children. And that cannot be done by one individual. All around the world, there are lots of NGOs, social workers, everyone is coming together, helping. And in a country like India, basically BPL children are in great grand need for someone to help them, because basically it is that community which is suffering with this crisis, for which I just wanted to share this topic today in this forum. Next slide. This is, I already told that we have to follow certain code of conduct, and how we move forward is what is accountable. You know, We all know that India is highly populated, and in India, to do this kind of work, to do this kind of thing, it's really risky. But if every 1% in 100 it comes forward, I think this common irritated factor can be turned into a powerful one. Next, memory of our experience is stored in our body. Uh, I think somewhere I never believed in this until I came across and took psychology as a subject and started reading about it, uh, and then I could understand that yes, our memory, our experiences, all imbibed in our body, and that is the reflection when we come out of place. I nowadays when I meet my ex students and they come to me and they say, "Ma'am, you still look so beautiful." I say it's all because my heart is pure and I am always happy and my body is happy. In the morning, I tell my face, my body, be happy, and I'm also happy. So basically, we should have this kind of thing because we should all know who is a child. Childhood is understood different ways around the world. For example, some cultures define adulthood not by age but by the onset of puberty. How is childhood defined in our culture? Is it only age or also social roles? How can this be different in our cultures? These other cultures, this I came across. I wanted to share because we all know we copy Western countries. I say we copy. But do we copy how they train their children? I have been traveling across the country because of my work. I have been traveling now on international platform as a speaker because I'm very much attached to early childhood development for international forum. And I have seen that a child of 4 years can bake a cake, bake a cookie. But in India, I think this is not happening. And I am very grateful and happy that as NEP 2020 has been launched, I'm also part of it. There is skills being introduced, and we have around 27 skills, which include all kind of skill-based learning in school level because our children, they knew to get up, get ready, come to school, study, go back home, tuition, prepare for engineering or IITs, again go to sleep and get ready. This was all what our 20th century children were doing. But the latest changes in Indian concept and NEP 2020 is bringing that each child is being taught to have learn the life skills and skills so that they can survive, if not through theoretical skills, they can survive with these skills which they obtain during the school time by knowing various other entrepreneurship. So, as per UN Convention on the Rights of Education, a child defines age. When we can say rights of the child defines as child is every human being below the age of 18, unless under the law applicable, they are considered as children. At the age of 18, they are considered as a young adult. But even in US or everywhere, we have found that the children at the age of 12 is also allowed to do summer work and they start earning and they start knowing. They've been taught that what they earn on their own, they have the right to spend, not their parents' money unnecessarily, like India. Next slide. So these are the few rights of child. Let's have a view on that. They have a right to leisure, play, and culture. They have a right to health care. Their freedom of religion, freedom of expression, social security, right to information, freedom of association and opinion, registration, name, nationality, survival and development, preservation of identity, parental guidance, right to live with their parents, right to education. Here, in today's scenario, the children have a right for any kind of thing which they would feel like. So, we parents have much more, you can say, conscious life so that we make sure that our children get better training and they try to adapt to what we have obtain, not like others, like they see others and they style to obtain those things. So it is our responsibility to take care of the children, irrespective of the child rights which they are supposed to enjoy. Next slide. Once again, I just have come up with this particular graph. It talks about the mechanism by which adverse childhood experiences influence health and well-being throughout the lifespan. Its adverse childhood experiences disrupted neurodevelopment, then its social, emotional, and cognitive impairment, adoption of health risk behavior, then is disease, disability, and social problems, and then it is always early death. Next slide. A person with 4 or more adverse childhood experience is 2.2 times as likely to have ischemic heart disease, 2.4 times as likely to have a stroke, 1.9 times as likely to have cancer, 1.6 times as likely to have diabetes. This is research been already done, and I just got this from Youth Well, this particular slide from Youth Wellness Organization, which is UN. Next slide. Impact on child development. The ability of form healthy relationship is highly dependent on learned social skills. Children's social skills learning is directly related to the characteristics of their environment. We used to believe that wherever the child is born, it is automatic that it is the blood, the DNA will teach them good or bad. But it is not like that. It's nurturing. We know that Indian children are orphans, are taken, adopted by many international acclaimed people, and these children, the way they live with highly class people in foreign land, can say that their attitude, their standing, their upbringing, everything changes according to the way they are nurtured. So it's basically the nurturing which is more important to develop a child's brain, healthy body, and healthy thinking than thinking that it is our DNA that's going to make a wonderful, beautiful child of ours. Violence teaches withdrawal, anxiety, distrust, overreaction, and aggression as coping behaviors. And with disordered environments actually creates dysfunctional skills. The next slide. Childhood experience underlying chronic depression. I've just given a certain bar graph. Probably, I think you will be able to understand with the red lines. This is all talking about women's, and if it is yellow, that is talking about men. That who suffers more? It is always women who suffers chronic depression. Childhood experiences underlie suicide attempts. You can see that suicide attempt is increasing day by day, and presently it is uh, reached to a height of 20% all through. Next slide. It is about the sexual behavior. The students, if children, if they're not taught, explain all the informations about how one should have a physical relationship, then they are actually for a you can trial basis, they just go for it before the age of 15. There is teen pregnancy after that, and then teen paternity is also there. We have found that the children, those who are given proper training, they learn properly, they understand, and they behave accordingly, which is very useful for them. So it is actually our duty to make sure that we explain children all about what is intercourse, what is pregnancy, and what is appropriate to go for such kind of physical relationship. Next slide. Now, school performance actually really bring adverse childhood experience. Uh, Here, children with 3 or more childhood experience, adverse experience, they know, we find that they are 4 times more likely to develop delays in every aspect of growing. And children with 4 or more ACs are 32 times more likely to have behavioral problems in the school. Next slide. What happens to traumatized children? World dismissive, judgmental, humiliating, and blaming. Control is external, not internalized. People are unpredictable and untrustworthy. They define themselves over all these, believe that admitting mistake is worse than telling the truth. And that's what happens to traumatic people. That their beliefs change totally and they just go to a shell by thinking that they are not normal people and they cannot mingle and change their attitude. So our duty is to make sure that we come forward and if we come across with these kind of people, if we can actually help someone to come to normal scenario, it would be a better option for as a human being to us. What are the protective factors? That is resilience, strength-based approach to supporting children that incorporates natural supports. Like, what happens nowadays, there is a massive change in our country. We have special schools which are coming up to help these children. We get a lot of funds from international platform so that such kinds of school can grow. I am myself attached to a school which is running in Sundarban. We are helping children to have proper education irrespective of their difficulties which they have, and we have a very good support from international platform. And I come across with because every month I make a visit. I am their academic director. I prepare the lesson plan and the teaching material, and I found that these children are more artistic. They understand, they talk, they share, but somewhere, they go behind immediately, thinking that whether they are normal to mingle or they have to be away from normal people. So this is really sad. We have to make sure that we work from need-based, not a problem focused. Next. Childhood obesity is a very, very, you can alarming issue now because we think कि बच्चे healthy, it fat hole healthy hoy, but basically this is not good. We have to make sure that the child should have proper nutrient food instead of gaining weight. Early age at first, this intercourse, this is very, very uh, bad thing. Nowadays, uh, in class 4, 5, only the children said, "Oh, our girlfriend, oh, our boyfriend, I will marry him or I will date him." So somewhere আমরা রিলেশনশিপ কে খুব খারাপ জায়গায় নিয়ে যাচ্ছি রিলেশনশিপ কে কি করে ডিফাইন করা হয় if it starts from the family. I think we should take care of that. Violence has become a major issue now. For small thing, this violence is disturbing. Initiation of tobacco, drug abuse, alcohol use is very bad, and self-mutilation and suicide is really playing havoc in the world. Next slide. I think regarding classroom, we should not be talking about because most of you are not teachers. I have been a teacher, so I was talking about classroom since I came up with this particular presentation as a proper presentation to be used in future. I just included this, but still we can just talk about the classroom, that how it should look like. It should have a proper setup. Teachers should know all about their children's well. The teacher should know all about the parents, which school, what kind of school they are coming, because it's very important for the teacher to have a, you can say, one-to-one connection with the student and cater according to the need. We don't know that the child, if they're coming to school, they are coming to school with a good mood or a bad mood. In which way are they given goodbye by the parents to when they were dropped to school? Next slide. I just finished this, that we have to have strength-based approach to supporting children that incorporates natural supports. Next slide. So it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men, is what Frederick Douglass has said. And that's a beautiful quote because it is true. We can always build strong children when they are growing up than to repair because that mark will never go away. That mark will always stay. Like we cannot actually mend a glass. Similarly, our heart is just like a glass. If we once if it is broken, you cannot mend it. That feeling will always remain with us, knowingly or unknowingly. Next slide. So, attachment, belonging, relationship with caring and competent people are vital contributions to be resilience and have recovery. So, this is all